They called her bad luck. All because the man she loved, heir to one of Korea's richest families, was involved in a tragic accident on her birthday. From that moment, they swore to destroy her. They humiliated her. They broke her spirit. They tried everything to tear them apart. What they never knew was this: the woman they treated like nothing was actually a princess from eastern Nigeria, a royal heir worth 10 times more than their entire empire. And when the mighty Korean family began to crumble into bankruptcy, a shocking decision had to be made, one that would change everything. This is a story of forbidden love, silent endurance, and ultimate redemption. Subscribe, like, and share, because you don't want to miss what happens next. This is Bella's story time. The first cold breeze of autumn brushed against Amara's cheeks as she stepped out of Incheon International Airport, clutching the straps of her backpack. Her heart thudded, not from fear, but from the overwhelming realization that she was thousands of miles away from home. Nigeria felt like another planet. Korea was a world of steel buildings, fast-paced footsteps, and faces that looked nothing like hers. And yet, something about Seoul called out to her spirit. Few people who passed by noticed her just another international student, they assumed. But beneath her simple hoodie and jeans was a truth heavy enough to silence an entire room. Amara was a princess of Otolo Nui, heiress to one of the most powerful business dynasties in West Africa. Her father, Igwe Okafor, a man whose wealth whispered through continents, had sent her here for one reason: to prepare her for the empire she would one day command. But Amara wasn't ready for that destiny. Not yet. She wanted a taste of normal life, something her royal background rarely allowed. Yonsei University became her escape. On her first morning walking across campus, she marveled at how free everyone seemed. Students laughing under tall ginkgo trees, couples sharing coffee on wooden benches, professors walking briskly toward lecture halls. It felt like stepping into a kdrama, but she wasn't here for romance. She reminded herself of that constantly. Yet fate often ignored warnings. One chilly afternoon, Amara struggled with a stack of books as she exited the library. They slipped from her hands, scattering across the pavement. Before she could bend down, another hand reached for the books at the same time as hers. A man knelt beside her, tall, soft features, warm eyes that crinkled slightly when he smiled. "Careful," he said gently, handing her a book. "These Korean history texts are deadly. They can crush your feet and your soul." Amara burst into laughter, the first genuine laugh she'd had since arriving. His name was Young Son-hoon, a graduate student in business with a calm aura that felt like safety. At first, they kept their conversations casual: school, cultural differences, favorite foods. But the more they talked, the more Amara realized how naturally he made space for her in his world. What she didn't know was that Young Sun came from one of Seoul's most prestigious families, the Hoons, owners of a multi-million-won conglomerate that commanded respect and fear in equal measure. People usually approached him cautiously, or with intentions hidden behind polite smiles. But Amara looked at him like a human being, not a title, and he cherished that. Slowly, something delicate grew between them, a friendship filled with warm coffees, shared umbrellas, study sessions, and evening walks back to the dorms. Young Sun admired her simplicity, her humility, her ability to laugh even when life felt heavy. She never bragged, never hinted at her lineage, never acted entitled. To him, she was just Amara, the girl who loved spicy tteokbokki and danced while waiting for the bus. But trouble stirred the moment Young Sun mentioned her name at home. The Hoons reacted instantly. His mother frowned as if she had tasted something sour. His sisters exchanged disgusted looks. His father didn't even pretend to hide his disapproval. "A Nigerian girl?" his mother scoffed. "And what does she want from you? Your kindness? Or your inheritance?" "She's a student," Young Son insisted. "And my friend." "Exactly why you must be careful," his father warned. "People like her come to Korea with nothing and cling to the wealthy for survival." They didn't know Amara's truth, that she was wealthier than all of them combined, but their prejudice ran deeper than logic. Young Son left the dining table that night feeling ashamed, confused, and exhausted. Yet the next morning, when he saw Amara waiting for him at the university gate, smiling in the sunlight, he felt peace again. Their friendship blossomed into something tender, something unspoken, something precious. But life, as always, had its storms. On the evening of Amara's birthday, Young Son planned a surprise, something simple but thoughtful. He bought her a handmade necklace with her initials carved elegantly into a small heart-shaped pendant. He imagined the way her eyes would light up. He imagined the laugh that would follow. He never made it to her. A speeding car ran a red light. Metal crashed against metal. Glass shattered. Screams filled the air. Young Son's world went dark. Amara received the call 2 hours later and collapsed to the floor. When she finally reached the hospital, the cold white corridors felt like they were swallowing her alive. She found him unconscious, tubes attached to his body, breath shallow, doctors whispering about spinal injuries. Her heart broke in a way she didn't know was possible. And when he woke, days later, the news was worse. He would never walk again. The guilt consumed him. The pain consumed her. And the Hoons? They blamed her. "If he wasn't trying to surprise you, he wouldn't be here," his mother spat. But Amara didn't run. She stayed. She cooked for him, cleaned for him, sat beside him through long nights when he cried silently into his pillow. She became his unofficial caregiver even when his sisters insulted her, even when security guards tried to stop her from entering the house. She stayed because love had taken root. Yet beneath her calm smile, beneath her compassionate hands, beneath her patience, she carried a secret powerful enough to turn their world upside down. A truth they weren't ready for. A truth she feared would destroy everything. A truth slowly making its way toward the surface like a storm gathering strength. The first snowfall arrived quietly that winter, dusting the rooftops of Seoul like powdered sugar. Amara watched the flurries melt against her palm as she hurried toward the Hoon residence, her breath puffing in the cold. Her boots crunched softly in the snow, and each step felt heavier than the last. She had been walking this same route for weeks now, ever since Young Son's accident, but today felt different. The guards at the gate barely acknowledged her. They had been instructed to tolerate her presence, not welcome it. Every time she stepped onto the Hoon property, she felt the weight of invisible eyes watching her with suspicion, prejudice, and an unspoken bitterness. She wasn't wanted here. The house itself seemed to grow colder whenever she approached. Yet she continued to come, because Young Son needed her. He sat by the window when she entered, a blanket over his legs, a hollowness in his eyes that hadn't been there before the accident. His once confident posture had bent into a quiet sadness, and though he tried to hide it, Amara saw everything. She always did. "You look tired," he said softly when she placed a thermos on the table. "I'm fine," she lied, removing her gloves. "I brought you ginger tea. The doctor said it helps with circulation." He smiled faintly. "You're spoiling me. If that's what it takes to stop you from giving up, then I'll spoil you forever." Her words startled him, but only for a moment. Then he lowered his gaze, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not the man you used to know, Amara." She moved closer, pulling a chair beside his wheelchair. "Then let me remember you however you are now. Let me be here." He didn't answer immediately. The silence between them grew thick, filled with unspoken fears. Upstairs, someone scoffed loudly. Footsteps echoed with intentional sharpness. Young Mi, the eldest sister, descended the staircase with her arms folded, her expression dripping with disdain. "So, "You're here again," she said, eyes scanning Amara like she was a stain on the furniture. "Don't you have classes? Friends?" "I reorganized my schedule," Amara replied calmly, her tone respectful despite the sting of the words. "Of course you did," Youngmi smirked. "Anything to secure your place beside the heir of this family." "Ani," Youngsun muttered, embarrassed. "Stop." "No," she snapped. "Someone has to say what we're all thinking. This girl appears right when our family is weakest. Please." Amara didn't flinch. She had heard worse before from people who never knew the weight of her crown, the legacy she was born into. She had learned to swallow insults with elegance. But today, something inside her trembled. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was fear. Or maybe it was the loneliness of hiding who she really was. Youngmi leaned closer, her voice low enough that only Amara could hear. "You think you're saving my brother? No, you're trapping him. Leave before you ruin his life further." Amara inhaled slowly in, outsteadying her emotions. She refused to cry. Not here. Not in front of someone who wanted to break her spirit. "I'm not going anywhere," she replied softly. "Not unless Youngsun asks me to." Youngmi's nostrils flared, but Amara turned away, choosing peace over confrontation. She sat by Youngsun again, holding his hand gently. The warmth of his fingers against hers was enough to calm the storm raging in her chest. Later that evening, when she helped him through his physical therapy exercises, she saw how much pain he endured, not just physically, but emotionally. Every failed movement chipped away at his pride. Every attempt that didn't go as planned tightened the knot of frustration in his jaw. At one point, his hand slipped from the grip bar, and he gasped in frustration. "I can't do this," he muttered bitterly. "Yes, you can," Amara whispered, kneeling beside him. "You're stronger than this moment." "I used to be strong," he said. "Now, I'm a burden." "You're not a burden to me." He looked up, his eyes glassy with unshed tears. "Why do you stay, Amara? My own family barely stays by my side." She hesitated. She couldn't reveal the truth, not yet. Not here. She was terrified of what would happen if the Hoons discovered who she really was. To them, she was a poor girl from a foreign land clinging to their son. To reveal her identity now would only ignite more chaos. So she chose the simpler truth, the safer truth. "Because I care about you," she said. "More than you know." He reached for her hand again. This time, his fingers curled around hers with intent, gratitude, and something deeper. Yet even in this moment of closeness, Amara felt the walls of the Hoon household closing in around her. She could sense the whispers, the accusations, the assumptions. They spread like smoke through every corner of the house. "She's using him. She wants our money. She has no place here." Every word was a blade. Days turned into weeks, and every day, Amara fought her silent battles, attending classes during the day, caring for Youngsun by evening, and hiding her identity with every breath. Her father called often, asking when she would return home to take her rightful position in the family empire. She always changed the subject. One night, during a phone call with her mother, Amara broke down. "It's hard," she whispered, tears falling freely. "They think I'm after their wealth. They don't know I'm hiding more wealth than they can imagine." Her mother sighed gently. "The path of royalty is never easy. But your heart has always been stronger than your crown. And sometimes, love demands patience before truth." Those words stayed with Amara as she continued her routine. They strengthened her resolve, even as the Hoon family's hostility grew sharper. Yet through it all, something remarkable happened. Youngsun began to smile again. He grew more determined in his therapy sessions. He laughed more. He talked more. And every improvement sparked a glimmer of hope in his eyes. He was healing slowly, painfully but healing. And he knew exactly who had sparked that light in him. One evening, as she wheeled him onto the balcony, he looked up at her with a seriousness she hadn't seen before. "Amara," he murmured, "if I ever walk again, it will be because of you." She swallowed the lump in her throat. "And if you don't," she replied softly, "you'll still have me." Their eyes held each other's for a moment too long, a moment heavy with meaning neither dared to name. But even in that peaceful moment, Amara felt an unsettling truth in her bones. The Hoons were not done fighting her, and something darker was lurking beneath the surface, a storm preparing to break. Winter melted slowly into spring, but the atmosphere in the Hoon household only grew frostier. Sunlight filtered through the tall windows each morning, but it couldn't melt the hostility that clung to the air like smoke. Amara began to feel as if every step she took echoed too loudly. Every breath she drew was judged, and every act of kindness she offered was twisted into suspicion. Yet she remained steadfast. Each afternoon, after her classes at Yonsei ended, she would arrive to find Young-sun waiting always with that small, quiet smile he reserved only for her. It was the smile that kept her going, even when the rest of the family's cold stares made her feel like an intruder in a house that refused to warm to her presence. But beneath the daily routines and hushed confrontations, something else was beginning to shift. Something subtle, something dangerous. It started with whispered conversations behind closed doors. Meetings that ran late into the night. Urgent phone calls that left the air thick with tension. At first, Amara dismissed it as personal family affairs. But day after day, the signs grew harder to ignore. One evening, as she helped Young-sun through his leg exercises, loud voices drifted through the corridor from the study room. Even from the other side of the house, the tone was unmistakably anxious. His mother's voice trembled with frustration. His father's was sharp, clipped, almost panicked. His sister's whispered harshly, words melting into frantic murmurs. Young-sun closed his eyes, pain flickering across his face not from his legs, but from hearing the fear he'd never been allowed to ask about. "They won't tell me what's going on," he muttered. "They think I'm too fragile to know." "Maybe they're just trying to protect you," Amara said gently, though she wasn't fully convinced. "No," he whispered. "They're hiding something." He looked up at her with eyes that held a deeper fear that he was no longer the man the family depended on, fear that his accident had caused more than physical damage, fear that he had become replaceable. Amara wanted to comfort him, but how could she when she herself was living a lie? A princess among strangers, a woman hiding a crown she didn't choose. Every day she woke with the same conflict twisting in her chest. At what point does protecting your identity become deception? That question weighed heavier with each passing day. The first definitive sign of trouble came when Amara walked into the dining area one afternoon and found the Hoon siblings clustered together, their faces pale. "They're pulling out," Youngmi whispered to the others. "All of them." "Who?" Minji asked. "3 of our biggest partners, just like that." "But why?" Minji's voice cracked. "The rumors," Youngmi replied bitterly. "Everyone's scared. Investors want stability. And ever since—" She stopped abruptly when she noticed Amara standing in the doorway. Her eyes narrowed. "Why are you always here?" Amara stiffened but remained calm. "I brought Young-sun's medication." Youngmi scoffed loudly. "Medication! Right. That's what you call it." Minji folded her arms. "Our family was fine before you. Ever since you came into this house, everything has gone downhill." Amara froze. "What are you talking about?" "Oh, please," Youngmi spat. "Do you think it's a coincidence that the moment you showed up, our brother got into an accident and the company started having problems? Bad luck follows some people." "Ani!" Young-sun's voice cut sharply down the hallway. He had rolled himself toward them, anger flashing in his eyes. "Don't say another word." But Youngmi lifted her chin defiantly. "I will, because someone has to protect this family from her." "Protect us from me?" Amara asked, voice trembling despite her resolve. Foreign girls come here all the time looking for rich Korean men, Youngmi continued. But you're different. You're patient. Too patient. Like you're waiting for something. Amara felt her heart plummet. She had prepared for insults, stereotypes, even outright hatred. But she wasn't prepared for how deeply their words could cut into her truth, a truth she was not ready to reveal. Young-sun wheeled himself forward, his voice shaking with fury. That's enough. Amara has done more for me than any of you. She has shown up every single day while you judge her from your comfortable bedrooms. His sisters flinched. His mother, who appeared suddenly at the top of the staircase, watched the scene with tight lips. Regardless of what she has done, Mrs. Hoon said coolly as she descended, this girl does not belong here. Amara's breath caught. The finality in those words was suffocating. She is disrespecting this family, Young-sun shot back. No, his mother replied sharply. She is exposing you to shame. People are already talking, Young-sun. They are questioning your judgment, your decisions. And now, she inhaled sharply, steadying herself. Now the company is shaking. The accusation landed like a slap. Are you blaming Amara? He demanded. I am stating facts, his mother said. Ever since she appeared, misfortune has followed. Amara felt something inside her snap, but she held her composure. She had been raised in palaces. She had been trained to maintain dignity under fire. But even royalty had limits. I'm not the cause of your misfortune, she said softly. I've never wanted anything from your family, except to help Young-sun. Mrs. Hoon's eyes hardened. Then help him by leaving. Silence froze the room. The air thickened like molten glass. Young-sun gasped. If she truly cares for you, Mrs. Hoon said coldly, she will honor my request. Amara's eyes stung. She blinked back the tears and forced herself to look away from Young-sun's devastated expression. She couldn't stay. Not like this. Not when the entire house had turned into a battlefield because of her presence. I'll go, she whispered. No. Young-sun reached for her hand, desperation twisting his features. Don't leave me. Her heart cracked. I have to, but I'll come back tomorrow. You won't, Mrs. Hoon said firmly. You are no longer welcome, Amara inhaled shakily, then turned toward the door. For the first time since arriving in Korea, she felt truly, crushingly alone. She stepped outside into the crisp air, into the quiet street, into uncertainty. And just as she exhaled a trembling breath, a familiar voice called out from behind her. A voice that did not belong in Korea. A voice from home. Princess Amara? Her blood froze. Standing by a black car was Chief Udachukwu, her father's loyal advisor, a man who never left Nigeria unless the matter was urgent. What? What are you doing here? Amara whispered, panic gripping her. He approached with a solemn expression. Your father sent me. He says you have delayed your return for too long, and he has learned about the Hoon family. Her heart stopped. What about them? She asked, heart pounding. Chief Udachukwu's eyes softened with pity. Their business is collapsing, princess, and your father believes you may soon need to intervene. Amara's knees went weak. The storm had begun. The next morning arrived with a heavy sky, the kind that warned of rain long before the first drop fell. Amara stood outside the Hoon mansion, staring at the tall iron gates she had walked through so many times. Now, they felt like the entrance to a battlefield she wasn't sure she belonged in anymore. She hadn't slept. She spent the night replaying every word Chief Udachukwu had said. Her father wanted her home. Her father had learned about the Hoon's troubles. Her father believed she might intervene. But intervening meant revealing everything, her lineage, her wealth, her power. It meant shattering the simple life she had built in Korea and exposing herself to the family that despised her. Still, she rang the bell. A guard opened the gate with reluctance. "You were told not to return," Amara breathed slowly. "I'm here for Young-sun." The guard hesitated. Madam said, "You can tell Madam that if she wants to remove me, she can speak to me directly." The guard stiffened but stepped aside. Amara walked through, her posture straight. Her chin lifted a glimpse of the royalty she kept buried under her gentle exterior. Inside, chaos simmered beneath the polished floors. Phones rang non-stop. Workers rushed from room to room. The air was thick with panic. A quiet, suffocating panic that no one wanted to acknowledge openly. She found Young-sun in his room, sitting by the window, staring blankly at his motionless legs. "You came back," he whispered, relief pouring over his face like warm sunlight. "I told you I would," she replied softly, kneeling beside him. He exhaled shakily. "Umma won't be happy. I'm not here for her." He hesitated. "Amara, something's wrong. I can feel it. The house is different." She took his hand. "Tell me what you know." He swallowed hard. "I overheard my father arguing with the board directors. We're losing investors. Fast. There's talk about bankruptcy." Amara's stomach twisted. She knew it was worse than that Chief Udachukwu had said as much, but she couldn't break him further. "Whatever is happening," she said gently, "you're not to blame." He didn't respond. His silence was heavy, the silence of a man who felt useless. Later, when Amara descended the stairs, she found the entire Hoon family gathered in the living room. Their expressions were grim, and the tension in the room was so thick it felt like the air itself might shatter. The moment she appeared, Youngmi's jaw clenched. "You again," she said sharply. "Didn't we make ourselves clear?" "Enough," Mr. Hoon interrupted, rubbing his forehead as though a headache was drilling into his skull. "We don't have time for petty arguments." Mrs. Hoon shot Amara a glare. "She's the petty one." Amara stood her ground. "I'm not here to argue. I'm here because Young-sun needs support." "Support?" Mrs. Hoon snapped. "What he needs is stability, not a foreign girl dragging more problems into his life." Before Amara could respond, a loud, shrill ding from Mr. Hoon's phone disrupted the moment. He glanced at the screen, and the color drained from his face. "What is it?" Youngmi asked nervously. He didn't speak. He simply handed his phone to his wife. Mrs. Hoon read the message and gasped. "Another investor. Gone." "Not just an investor," Mr. Hoon whispered hoarsely. "3 of them." The room exploded in murmurs. "This can't be happening. We trusted those partners. What are we going to do?" Amara stood still, watching the family unravel. She felt a sharp pain in her chest, empathy, sorrow, and guilt all tangled together. If only they knew the truth. But how could she tell Young-sun, in his fragile state, that she was the heiress to a company powerful enough to purchase theirs with a single signature? Mrs. Hoon suddenly spun toward her. "This started when you came into our lives." "Umma, stop." Young-sun's voice came from the staircase. He had wheeled himself down, trembling with effort. "Stop blaming her for everything." "Who else should we blame?" Mrs. Hoon cried. "Before she arrived, our family was stable, our business was secure." "That's not true," Mr. Hoon muttered, not meeting her eyes. It was a small confession, but Amara caught it. So did the sisters. Something else had caused this crisis long before Amara entered the picture. "What do you mean, father?" Youngmi asked, her voice cracking. Mr. Hoon finally spoke. "We've been struggling for months. A competitor has been quietly undermining us. A silent takeover. We tried to hide it because I didn't want this family to panic." Mrs. Hoon stepped back as if struck. "You lied to us?" "I kept information until we were ready to respond," he corrected. "But now, it may be too late." Amara's heart raced. A silent takeover. Her father had mentioned something similar, a global project, a strategic acquisition, a market shift. Was this the same situation? Young-sun, visibly shaken, gripped his wheelchair wheels. "Why didn't you tell me? I'm still your son." His father's voice softened. "I didn't want to burden you. After the accident, I didn't want you to feel responsible. Silence. Then young me rounded suddenly on Amara again. And yet, we have the burden of her walking in and out of our home like she belongs here. Amara inhaled deeply. I am not your enemy. You are, Mrs. Hoon hissed. Your presence has done nothing but bring bad luck. Do the Resirids. Then let me prove otherwise, Amara said quietly. The room fell silent. Mr. Hoon studied her carefully. And how do you plan to do that? She hesitated just for a moment, then spoke carefully. There may be a way to help your company, but I need time. Mrs. Hoon laughed bitterly. Help? You? How? Sell your textbooks for extra lunch money? Amara flinched, but held her composure. Every insult burned like fire, but she was stronger than her pain. I'm asking you to trust me, she said softly. We don't trust strangers, Mrs. Hoon snapped. And we certainly don't trust girls with motives we cannot see. Motives, secrets, hidden identity. The words stabbed her. She couldn't reveal herself yet. Not like this. Not when her purpose was tied to love. Not power. Without another word, she gathered her things and turned to leave. But before stepping outside, she looked back at young son, who watched her with a mixture of confusion, longing, and fear. I will fix this, she whispered to him, no matter what it takes. Outside, rain began to fall soft at first, then heavier, soaking the ground around her as she walked away. She had barely reached the gate when a familiar black car pulled up beside her. The window lowered. Chief Udachukwu, princess, he said gravely. Your father awaits your decision. Amara closed her eyes. It was time. Her worlds were about to collide. Her identity was cracking under pressure, and the Hoons were running out of time. The coming weeks, the crisis had reached its climax. The banks had refused another loan. Investors had pulled out. Employees were protesting unpaid wages. The Hoon family name was being dragged through the mud. And so, as a final desperate attempt to save their legacy, the family had accepted help from an unknown Nigerian corporation willing to inject billions on one condition. They wanted 65% ownership, a controlling stake, a takeover disguised as a rescue. The contract had been signed. The new CEO would be announced today. No one knew who it was. Mrs. Hoon had spent the entire night cursing fate. Whoever it is better show respect, she muttered bitterly. We will not be treated like beggars. But beggars was exactly what they had become. Hours later, the grand hall of the Hoon headquarters overflowed with journalists, shareholders, and employees. Cameras flashed. Reporters murmured. The red carpet rolled out for a person no one had seen. Young-san sat at the front, his sisters beside him. Mrs. Hoon lifted her chin, trying to maintain dignity despite the fear trembling beneath her bones. A hush fell over the hall when the host stepped up to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Today marks a historic moment. We welcome our new majority shareholder and the new CEO of Hoon Group. Cameras pointed at the stage. Everyone held their breath. The lights dimmed. A second door opened. And the world as the Hoons knew it ended. Amara stepped onto the stage. But she was not Amara the student. Not Amara the caregiver. Not Amara the girl they mocked. She was Amara Nena Chizoba Nwafor, Crown Princess of Anambra, heiress to the Nwafor Empire, daughter of a king, leader of a multi-billion-dollar dynasty. Her regalia shimmered under the light's deep royal fabrics, coral beads, gold ornaments that glowed like a sunrise. Her headpiece alone commanded silence. Gasps echoed across the hall. Cameras exploded with flashes. Journalists screamed her name. Mrs. Hoon stood up so quickly her chair toppled. No, no, this is impossible, she cried. The sisters froze, mouths hanging open. Young San's eyes widened, not with fear, but with awakening. Amara stepped forward, her voice steady as iron. My family's company, the Nwafor Group, has acquired 65% of Hoon Group. As of today, I stand before you as the new CEO. I came not for revenge, not for power, but because your company needed saving, and someone you love asked me not to give up." Her eyes met Young Son's. A silent truth passed between them. Mrs. Hoon staggered forward. "You lied to us! You deceived this family!" "I hid my identity," Amara corrected calmly, "because I wanted to be treated as a human being, not as a title, not as a bank, not as royalty." Her voice softened. "But instead of dignity, I received insults. Instead of respect, you gave me prejudice." The sisters lowered their heads, shame burning their faces. She turned back to the crowd. "This company will rise again. I promise that. Not because of its name, but because of its people." Applause erupted. Some cried, some knelt, some simply stared in disbelief. But Amara didn't look at them. She looked at Young Son, and then she walked toward him. Young Son's voice trembled as she approached. "Why didn't you tell me?" Her eyes softened. "I wanted you to love me for who I am, not what I inherited." He nodded, tears sliding down his cheeks, not from pain, but from awe, from relief, from finally understanding the woman he loved. Mrs. Hoon rushed toward them. "You can't be with my son! Look at you and look at him! Do you think a princess should waste her life caring for someone who—" "Mother," Young Son whispered, voice firm. "Stop." He turned to Amara. "If you still want me, even like this, I'm yours." Amara knelt gently in front of him, taking his trembling hands. "I didn't just save your family's company," she whispered. "I came to save the man who saved my heart." A collective gasp filled the room. It wasn't a confession. It was a promise. But the twist wasn't over. An older man stepped into the hall, tall, regal, powerful. Amara's father. He approached the Hoons, his voice deep and dignified. "I came to see whether this family deserves the loyalty my daughter has shown." Mrs. Hoon bowed deeply in shame. The king's expression softened slightly. "Your son," he said, turning to Young Son, "earns my respect, because even with nothing, he had more dignity than those with everything." Then he placed a hand on Amara's shoulder. "My daughter has chosen her path. Anyone who stands with her stands with the Nuafor dynasty." The room fell silent. Amara took Young Son's hand. The warmth that passed between them was no longer forbidden. It was destiny. The months that followed were transformative. Hoon Group recovered under Amara's leadership. Employees returned, investors reinvested. The company's reputation soared with new international partnerships. Mrs. Hoon's arrogance melted into quiet acceptance. The sisters apologized. Young Son began therapy with renewed determination. And Amara? She pushed him at the airport on their way to India, where they had paid the best orthopedic hospital who had promised that Young Son will walk again. She walked beside Young Son not as his caregiver, but as his partner, his equal, his future. Two worlds, African royalty and Korean legacy, merged in a way no one could have predicted. Because in the end, crowns don't define love, hearts do.